Well, I'm this far along. Why don't we put the rear swing arm on that I was painting last week, and then we can get the rear wheel on and we will have a roller. Welcome to Urban Monk TV. Real quickly before I get going here, just want to give a shout out to one of my subscribers, Kyle Levach. He heard on my last video that I was concerned about cutting this fender, which it's dirty, but it's in perfect condition. There is like no, is it fair to say there is no surface rust whatsoever? Yeah, I cannot find any. So, no, that's dirt. It's pristine, and I hate to cut it. And he has a GS550, which shares the exact same part number for 77 to 80. Is that right? 79 for sure. Anyways, we're making arrangements to swap. He's got one that's got rust, and it's in pretty bad shape. In fact, his bike had a fire. I don't think the fire affected the front fender much, but I'm sorry to laugh. I shouldn't laugh. I'm sure it was not fun at all. And so we're going to swap these things out. So thanks, Kyle. That's fantastic. I'm going to feel better about not destroying a piece of history. Kyle, for those of you that care, and I'm like you, he has agreed not to cut this thing. He's going to do a restoration, so we'll swap. I'll give him my good one, he's going to give me a bad one, and I'm going to cut it and fill in the holes, and we'll get it painted up. So this is going to have to wait a little bit for some shipping back and forth. And he's in New Jersey. He's suffering from a lot of cold weather right now with this polar vortex that swept down. And he's not going out into the shed to pull any parts off of the bike right now, and that's fine. There's no hurry. Let's get this swing arm on. So I want to detail the parts for you guys first. On the swing arm itself, really all you have here is two bearings. I went ahead and put grease on these bearings. I'm sorry I did that off camera. It's a highly technical process where I stick my finger in a tub of grease and then wiggle it around in there. So sorry I missed that for you guys. But that's all you have for parts in the swing arm, is the swing arm itself and these two bearings that are pressed in. If you want to see how I removed these bearings, go to episode 43 or part 43, and I do swap one of these bearings out that was in pretty rough shape. Then let's look at the other parts. So you have the swing arm bolt itself. On the swing arm bolt, on both ends, is a dust seal. Looks like just a cap with a rubber seal inside of it. Inside of that dust seal is this washer, very thin, flat thing. Then you've got two spacers, and those are what actually are riding on the bearing rollers. You know, that's bearing surface there, and then a spacer in between. On this side you have a washer and a lock nut. There is no washer on this side, and I have checked the parts diagram. There's not supposed to be. So and that makes sense why there wouldn't be. If you guys are ordering any of these parts, be careful of which model you have, and if you have any of your old parts, measure them first, because there are two different sizes of these available in the same year for different models of GS550s, and there's two different sizes of these things available. Everything else is the same as far as I know. So just careful if you're ordering parts. And on the pivot shaft itself, I'm just going to put a little grease on here. Surface manual does not call for this, but just to protect it from corrosion mainly. And so inside, I'm going to put the inner spacer in, and then the bearing spacer on this side, and you hear that spacer drop in there, so I'm going to have to be creative in getting this in. Here's the other spacer then going on the other side. So that's it for inside the swing arm. And then we've got our dust seals. I didn't paint these the same color as the swing arm. Perhaps I should have. Let me just take this out for a second. There. 1 and 2. They're a tight fit, as you would think they should be. Well, there, I think I have it. We're going to find out. There we go. I'm actually quite happy with how snug that is. Any play, of course, back here would really affect stability of the bike. And there isn't much. So I'm just going to finesse it in here. And then pray that I can get that inner spacer lined up with the pivot shaft. Okay. Yeah, that shouldn't be too much of a challenge. What I don't want to do is bugger up my threads, jamming the thing in there. Don't go whacking away on it out here. We might do some of that very gently at some point, but now I've made it to the inner spacer. This might take a little finesse. So what's happening in here is as I pull the shaft in, I'm through the spacer that rides in the bearing, but that inner spacer has dropped just slightly, and so it's offset and it's hard to press the pivot shaft through. And so I gotta, I've tried just finessing it, and that's not bringing it up. What I'm going to try to do is bring a long screwdriver in from this side and just lift that spacer slightly and see if I can there it's going. Okay. Alright. I got it in just enough. No hurry here. Oh yeah, screwdriver. Why didn't you guys remind me of that? Thought we were in this together. There I hit the other spacer. And gentle. There we go. So I was putting just a little force that way. There we go. So a little tapping, but you know, with finesse, light, gentle. And my threads are fine. They're in great shape. No problems. Washer, lock nut. Make sure you watch the direction on that thing. I'm going to put a wrench on the other side to hold it, and let me get you the torque spec for this. Torque spec in the service manual is another interesting, exacting measurement. In pound-feet, it is 36 to 58 pound-feet, or it's 5 to 8 kilogram meters for those of you that work in metric. So that's exactly tight to pretty darn tight. I'm gonna go, I don't know, it said 58 was the upper limit. I'll go like 50. 50 is a nice even number. And on the pivot shaft side, it's 22 millimeter. On this side, it's 19 millimeter on the nut. That seems snug. Be sure to wait till the end. I'm going to turn the engine over and just get things lubricated, put some oil in it. Alright, if we're going to put the rear wheel on, then we got to put the brake shoes back together. You have this little pivot shaft. You want to get some grease on here before you put it in here, but of course you don't want grease to contaminate your brake linings, so just be careful about where this stuff goes. And I'm just going to wipe away any of the grease that landed on the inside there. Okay, and then I've taken my two shoes and already put my springs in them, which is easy enough to do when they're out like this. The rounded side of the shoe goes against this round shaft, and the flat side goes against this pivot. And this is pretty simple. If you just pull outward, turn it this way, you can get it lined up. And then just make sure that you're in all the way. There we go. Easy peasy. On each side you've got a chain tensioner, that spacer I just showed, and then these are part of the tensioning process there. We'll show you how that goes together, but somehow I got to get the bike lifted up enough to put that wheel in. I was able to slide a little scissor jack
right up underneath the pivot bolt or pivot shaft on the rear swing arm. I may actually be able to just lift the back of the bike onto that scissor jack and get it under the frame piece, and then lift the back end up that way. Been looking at this a couple different ways, and I think if I put a 2x4 in here, I can get under these rear passenger foot peg mounts that are part of the frame. I left them on as a place to mount the exhaust. And then if I just make a fulcrum there and get my large pry bar out, I can get a little action on this thing. Just enough. A little unstable, but just enough to get the scissor jack under the frame back here. There, now I'm on the scissor jack, and I'll be able to lift the back end up. I do need to stabilize it though, because it's the only thing holding it up right now is the front wheel chock, and on these Harbor Freight lifts, not great. It's a little something. I don't want to crank down too hard because I'm trying to lift up. So the way I'm doing this is a little precarious. This is helping stabilize things, but I'm going to have to be kind of working both of these because I'm on a single point here on the frame, and then the front wheel is a single point, and it's just going to be tippy. So this is the only thing keeping me from being too, what am I, backwards here? No. It's just heavy. Okay. I got this scissor jack off eBay for $12, I think. Kind of a handy little thing. Not big money. What I like about it is, you know, I have a floor jack, and the minimum height is like this high, because it's a big 3-ton floor jack. So something small like this for motorcycles is kind of handy. I should mention, if you are using your original chain and you didn't break the chain, you should have it on now before you put the sprocket in like this. I have a brand new chain that I'm going to have to rivet together, so I don't need the chain at this point. So the chain tensioner has to go over the swing arm rear portion here, but between the spacer and the swing arm. So, like that. Go. All the fun is on the other side now, so let me switch the camera. And as I mentioned again, this spacer's got to go here, so I'm going to back this out slightly. That guy, putting the axle shaft in enough just to hold the spacer there, and then I'm going to put the shinier side out. I'm a little cockeyed on this jack, so I gotta lift my wheel. There we go. Okay. Washer, nut, Not going to tighten things yet because we have to get these guys in there. Who's inside here? This nut coming down in there. And then thread this in. Hold it there. And the same thing on the other side. This bolt you can just tighten down. It just simply holds this plate, I guess. It's just a backing plate against which the tensioner presses. And the bolt just does nothing but hold it in place. There isn't a given torque spec for this. I would just say snug. And then, just for lack of a better setting right now, I'm just gonna put this wheel in and crank it down. 24 millimeter, pretty standard fare for Japanese axle shaft bolts. It's just snug. Obviously the cotter pin is the last thing to go in. Let's get you lined up. But I'm just sticking it there as a placeholder right now, because lots of adjustment to come in the future here. And just for fun, something like that. I love it. Sounds pretty good. So a quick little update. While I was filming all of this, Kyle, the subscriber with the surface rusted fender that we were going to trade, he contacted me through Instagram and he sent a photo of it, and the rust is completely through the fender on his in more than one spot. So Kyle, I hope you don't mind, but I gotta pass. That one's just a bit further along than I had hoped to find. I was looking for just surface rust. You know, that is something that the chrome's bad, but the fender's solid. So I guess change of plans there. I'm still going to have to figure out what I'm going to do about the fender. Hey guys, that's going to be it for this week. I'll put the shock absorbers on the rear shocks next episode. But for now, I got to get going. And appreciate each and every one of you watching. All of you that have become monks and subscribed, thank you. If you'd like to become a monk, go ahead and click subscribe and follow along. We're making some really fun progress now. And click like if you like what I'm doing. Thumbs up. Thanks for watching.